Hey guys, Andrew here. So I know I said one and we're a little bit early, but guys, welcome. So guys, gonna be here for about half an hour. So let's jump into it. First things first is welcome to my new subscribers. Absolutely amazing. So guys, I've got a couple of guests coming on the YouTube and the podcast. First one is a pharmacist that I've been colleagues with for years as well. We're going to talk about his journey to becoming an NDIS provider, chemical restraints, psychotropic medications, and that not all psychotropic medications or mental health medications are chemical restraints, and who makes that decision, his viewpoint about it as well. Then, guys, welcome. I said about this one being an interesting one over on TikTok, but it's quite funny that I've had 5 years of fighting constant battles, whether it be health, career-wise, DSP, NDIS, going psychotic and making really bad decisions that we're still unpacking as family. Then Sill House, not knowing what I was dealing with in behaviours of concern and difficult and challenging behaviours. Then understanding support workers, what they can and can't do. Obviously starting the blog and the YouTube channel and the dramas that have gone along with it. Then again, having COVID and having to move Sill houses. It's kind of funny that my brain wants to actually pick fights for the adrenaline and the dopamine hit. So, guys, actually decided to keep myself busy. I'm finishing a lot of craft projects, stuff like that, setting up my office as my studio. Guys, because everyone's home and it's a weekday, I'm limited on the time I can be in the live as well. But the skills that I'm working on, instead of being in flight, fight, or freeze mode, are cooking. So that's this afternoon. Going to be cooking with the support worker. Some study. Also just life routine. So going to bed at a decent hour and not going to bed too early. Budgeting, household general routines, and fitting in with when people are at the day centre, community centre, when I've got appointments. Guys, I've got my life end documents all sorted. I've just got to get them certified. Guys, can I say the budgeting and the meal planning has been a game changer. I know what I'm eating when I'm not overspending on snacks. And if I want the takeaway, I've got that money for it as well. Food waste, that's an ADHD thing, but I am very much cutting down on it. And guys, this is a reason why I don't talk about NDIS politics, that there's a lot of other content creators here and on TikTok that cover it better than I have. They've got political science degrees, so I'm just able to understand the issues a hell of a lot better. Then, guys, some other topics that are coming up. Guys, dump in the chat if you guys want me to cover some other ones with Deb over on the podcast. She's now coming on board as a co-host as well. So we're hoping to monetize that one to split between us, because she is currently a support coordinator. They are looking at phasing out support coordinators and going to the navigators. Don't know how that would work for people who are medically complex, have got multiple service providers. For people like me who've just got the two and allied health, it would work fine. But for people who are medically complex, it's not going to work, because who is actually paying them is the big issue. If we go back to the whole Commonwealth Rehabilitation Service and DSP days, where you've got the same person from Go to Woe, it could work. But given that a lot of them don't have any understanding of disability or what it's like. There is that danger there. So what qualifications are these navigators going to have? And the LICs were supposed to be people who had aware of the community services and stuff like that. I have never had a good experience with an LIC. They've been lovely people, just very ineffective at the job. Then the other one Deb and I are going to do is community and housing, because not everyone with a disability is going to qualify for a SIL or SDA, and with the housing crisis, how you can deal with that as well, especially with support workers getting the heebie-jeebies and not wanting to go into some units or housing estates, which I can understand, but then there's also the element of overcare as well. So we're also going to do learnt dependence and de-skilling. Guys, some people think they're the same thing, but they're not, because de-skilling can occur due to your disability, cognitive processes, things like that. Then, guys, the other thing I learnt this morning, Microsoft has been hacked. So please secure your data if you're a Hotmail or OneNote user, any of the Microsoft products. It hasn't been publicly announced, but a TikTok creator is like, and this guy has his master's in Homeland Security, so I believe him as well. Guys, finished my advanced diploma in cryptography and data security. Absolutely amazing to do that. So I'm still working on my math and English. It's something I never thought I'd do. So guys, my passion has always been for natural health. So there's plenty of accredited short courses online that I'm going to look at doing. I already have a diploma in biology to do it. I've just got to work on my maths and my chemistry as well. Then, guys, we've had a case of COVID in the house, so please be aware that COVID is still around as well. So your best defense is washing your hands, great personal hygiene and household hygiene. And guys, these are things that the support workers should be able to help you with as well. Guys, I've just got a message coming through as well. Yeah, so guys, absolutely amazing to see we're up to 91 followers. So if we can get the word out, would love to see 1,000 by Christmas as well. But guys, your personal care is something that support workers should be able to help with. And if they say, oh, that's not my job, it actually is part of the job description as well. So this is where a lot of young green support workers come into the industry. I think it's all taking people to appointments, doing the groceries, a little bit of light housework. Don't realise it can be showering people. It can be stimulation of the bowels. It can be lifting people. It can be medication. It can be dealing with behaviours of concern, difficult and challenging behaviours. Difficult and challenging behaviours, we've all had them. So rage cleaning, listening to the music up loud, refusing to do what we're asked, slamming the door at people, manipulating people. They are difficult and challenging behaviours. When it becomes behaviours of concern is when it becomes physical, so biting, yelling, kicking, screaming, harming yourself, harming others, threatening to harm others as well. Because some difficult and challenging behaviours may be part of that person's disability. They might not have road sense. They may not be unable to cook safely. Me. So I'm finally allowed to tell you guys what I was referring to. I set off the fire alarm. Is what I was referring to. There had to be an incident report done as well. So, guys, the other thing is, guys, good luck cancelling Eminem. It's actually really funny watching the younger generation trying to cancel him. And I think this is going to be the end of cancel culture. People have had enough of being language police, telling that there's so many bloody genders. And Joe Rogan, I was listening to Joe Rogan this morning, and he was like, okay, this senator who was like, well, I'm not a biologist. He's like, okay, if I was to give you a choice of a boy puppy and a girl puppy, and they couldn't be their sex, how do we tell them apart? And it's like, it's not that hard. And guys, the science on transgenderism is actually fairly new as well, and gender dysphoria in kids. Look, I will respect your pronouns. I'll respect what you want to be called. But my belief is that we should not be transitioning kids, especially kids who brains have not matured yet, who may simply be same-sex attracted as well, because there's a lot of research that is coming out that it is a social contagion as well. But good luck cancelling Eminem. There was congressional hearings into his lyrics, especially his song Kim. I still can't get through Kim completely myself. And guys, some books for media literacy I've been asked about, because I do on the back channel do media literacy, is Manufacturing Consents. Absolutely horrific read. Then The Coddling of the American Mind. And I think a lot of that applies to Australian schools. It's saying how teachers aren't allowed to fail students anymore. They're not just teachers, that discipline isn't happening at home. So before they even get to the teaching, they've got to make sure basic needs are met, which are basically parents' responsibilities. They're the parents, they're the babysitter. And then you've got the parents who want to do the homework for the kid and wonder why the kid isn't learning. This crosses over into disability because, guys, disability isn't our excuse. The law is the law. I've seen it in my personal life, people saying, oh, that's just so-and-so, he's autistic, he can't help it. And when he graduated from TAFE, and had to get a job, he was angry at the world, he would burst out, use anger, have meltdowns, and they were tantrums. They were not autistic meltdowns, they were not burnt, they were simply tantrums. That's the thing, if you're not parenting these child, you're not parenting them. That's all there is to it. Parenting a child with a disability, I'll admit, it is not easy. It is challenging. I've now talked to my mum as an adult, and she says with my appointments and stuff like that, it was not easy. And it's quite funny that now I'm an adult, I see where she was coming from. I thought she was strict, but she was actually caring as well. And it's quite funny about me being stable and having medication and life sorted is that I'm used to having to hide, I'm used to having to mask, but now unmasking is quite freeing. I haven't had a autistic ADHD, I'm not autistic, or autistic response, ADHD response in ages, and it hasn't been masking. Hey, welcome. So guys, I have a very good friend of the show on. We haven't met in real life, but we follow each other over on the Clock app as well. So guys, leads into what I was saying over on the Clock app about find yourself a Sister Mary Clarence. So, guys, for some reason, I've ended up on the musical side of TikTok. Don't know how I ended up there. I'm not even going to ask. People have inboxed me asking what I'm meaning. I'm going, okay, look at Sister Mary Clarence in Sister Act 1 and 2. She brought Mother Superior not what she wanted, but what she needed. So, system like Dolores at the start of Sister Act was self-involved. She was worried about clothing, but all of her basic needs were met. She had a good job, but she didn't realize that she was a mob boss girlfriend. She went to the police. The police realized in witness protection she would have been worse off. So they stick her in the convent. Who's going to look for a Las Vegas headliner in a convent? What does she end up doing? Revitalizing the choir, taking on responsibility and a leadership position. Bringing her lively, unapologetic self into the convent. Sister Act 2, same with the students. She was reaching those who they thought were unreachable. And so that's what bloody good support workers do. They reach those who you thought were unreachable. So good support workers, good teachers, good guide leaders, good scout leaders, good youth group leaders don't care about your clothing as long as it covers your bits and bobs and it's weather appropriate. With guiding and scouting, there are uniform requirements, but there are memorial funds if you are. And guides, going off track on an ADHD tangent here, if you are in guiding and scouting and can't afford it, some units do have funds to be able to pay for uniforms and subs and to send you on camps, because I know state camp is coming up as well. I know it's Goonery that's coming up, and then I think Jamboree of the Year is coming up. So guys, if you can't afford your subs, in Australia there's fair play vouchers, there's help out there is what I'm trying to say. And this is where Sister Mary Clarence was like, look, we know we're at risk, but we're going to do everything we can to save it. And even Jack Black in School of Rock. Jack Black in School of Rock, not the greatest role model, but it's about him finding his place. And that's what a bloody good support worker does. They help you find your place in the world, whether it be in a SIL house, a day centre, community service, or in the wider community. Because I know that I have graduated from my day service. So I'm actually looking at going back to tertiary education as well. And guys, for those who weren't able to tune in at the start of the show, and guys, this is a quick live because I've been given half an hour as well, is I'm having a community pharmacist on, but I've got the opportunity to speak to a clinical pharmacist as well about chemical restraints, because to me, some of the decisions around chemical restraints seem unhinged. Melatonin is now considered a chemical restraint under NDIS. So a naturally occurring substance in the body for sleep, if you're taking it, is considered a chemical restraint. But my pharmacist could sell me a Nature's Own sleep aid, which is more of a chemical restraint. It makes you sleepy, where the melatonin just kicks in your natural sleep processes. So we're going to talk about chemical restraints and the difference between addiction and physiological dependence. because there is a massive difference between the two. I'm physiologically dependent on my epilepsy medications to keep me seizure free. I choose not to drink, to smoke, to do cannabis, though I am looking at CBD oil for the parasomnias. And ironically, we've actually worked out with the parasomnias, it's because I'm going to sleep too early and my brain is thinking about all of the mistakes I've made in the past 5 years. And I'm going, well, yeah, it's going to hurt, but in the words of Rafiki, the past is going to hurt, but you can live there or you can learn from it. So I'm choosing to step into my future, whatever that may be, and learn from it as well. And guys, I now have the right support team for both community and housing as well. So I've learned, and I want to say this to support workers, clients, and client advocates, guys, do not be afraid to speak up, because when I got the email back, they were like, thank you. We've actually redirected this person, because what I didn't know was that person was on a shift in a cell house with a medically complex person afterwards. If she's that cavalier with someone who is higher functioning, how is she going to be with that medically complex nonverbal person? And so this is where it's a great industry to get in, but thank you for advocating to get the dodgy providers out there and the dodgy support workers out there. So Deb and I, who is my support coordinator and also my partner in crime for the podcast, we are going to do how to trust your support workers. Guys, I know she's listening. She is lurking in the comments. She's in the car. So thank you for being a safe driver. And I'm jealous that you guys get the public holiday in New South Wales. We actually in Queensland don't. We don't have one until October as well. But guys, this is an amazing support worker advocate. She is talking about the reality of it as well. I'll put, with her permission, I will put the links to her TikTok over as well. But guys, there are some dodgy providers out there. I couldn't sit through the announcement about the task force this morning about the childcare worker who's now working in support being charged with SA as well. So we're going to do how to protect yourself as a client and as a support worker as well. Because that is so important about being able to trust your gut for both clients and support workers, and having the right supports for you is so bloody important as well. Sometimes with dynamic disabilities or chronic illnesses, you may graduate from those supports to needing less or more. Not judging, but it's just the way it is as well. But guys, I went really off track. What I'm saying about finding yourself a Sister Mary Clarence is someone who's going to speak to you unapologetically, tell you the home truths, tell you how it is. They're not going to be brutal. They're not going to be savage, but they're going to tell you how it is. They're going to work within your capabilities. If they see that you're capable of a lot more than you let on, they are going to push you. And if you push back, be prepared for hell in a handbasket. If you've got a disability or not, be prepared for hell in a handbasket, because they're going to be the ones to know what you can achieve. But if you're pushing yourself and you're harming yourself, they're going to also be the ones to hold you back. As Mother Superior says in Sister Act 2, is Mother Superior or Reverend Mother? Whoever is played by the lovely Dame Maggie Smith. I think she's Reverend Mother at the time, because that was pre-Vatican II. So it would be Reverend Mother. She was saying in Sister Act 2, well, at least she's going to make it an interesting ride. That is so true about people who are supporting people who are engaged in the community who may not fit that stereotype as well. So looking past the stereotypes as well. Guys, on stereotypes, it's really funny. I know I said this earlier, but we've had some new people join, so I'm going to rehash this one. Guys, it is hilarious seeing the younger generation trying to cancel Eminem. Good luck. Guys, there was US congressional hearings about his lyrics. He is the reason for parental advisory labels if you stream on Spotify or YouTube Music, any of the legal platforms. He is actually the reason the music industry has those lyrics when you're buying CDs. Yeah, guys, we've got Brass Monkey season. So they're flying over from Stanthorpe to Toowoomba, so that's noise you can hear as well. Now, guys, also wanted to just touch on mental health because, guys, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I've had my own struggles with it. Now working with a brilliant counsellor and life coach. But, guys, this is where it comes into behaviours of concern and difficult and challenging behaviours. Is, guys, reach out to professional help. So if you're in a cell house and you have a mental illness and you think the support workers are being harsh, there's probably a reason for it. So follow your policies and procedures. Support coordinator, LAC, planner, particularly your support coordinator and your planners can go to complex cases unit within the NDIS. Yes, there is such a thing. When I had to bounce back to the family home, I was put with a senior delegate planner whose background was actually psychology. So she understood what I was going through. She was able to make quick decisions, and she understood that the support coordinator that I was working with had been an LAC and was trying to undermine my decisions as well. So, guys, this is where I'm an advocate of having completely independent support workers because it has been proven that support coordinators that are attached to support organisations were advocating for them to join the services. There wasn't that siloing that people were saying. And so that's where the old school, I think this goes back to block funding days, saying keep your community access and your housing separate because they keep each other accountable as well. And guys, we are going to be doing an After Dark series on the podcast. I can't do it on YouTube because I'm working on the road to monetization. And as part of that is not having copyright strikes or things that are by YouTube community deemed offensive. Some of these topics that we're going to be talking about are going to be deemed offensive. So we're going to be talking about when good intentions harm. So forced religiosity, so people wanting to pray your health condition away when practical help of, if you're in a church or other religious community, getting you on the bus so a support worker doesn't have to sit awkwardly through a service. Dropping a casserole off if you're sick. And we're also going to talk about the sticky topic that is difficult and challenging behaviours and behaviours of concern around sexual behaviour, because sex work is now illegal in Queensland. While I understand the religious reasons behind it, having a brothel and legal sex work, yeah, I know it's a sticky one in the plan, but where else are you going to take the males who are at risk of SAing support workers to teach them about consent? Because it wasn't just them paying for the transactional of doing the deed. It was often them being them going to a sexologist and then going to a sex worker, about redirecting those behaviours, about learning about consent, learning about healthy relationships, because a lot of people have never had this as well, that conversation. It might be through poor parenting, pathologies, brain damage, global developmental delay, or someone simply forgot to have the talk, didn't understand that they didn't need to have they needed to have the talk as well. So really important topic to cover as well. We're also going to cover grooming. I've got a local beautician coming on talking about grooming, both from a client side and a support worker side, because grooming, especially when you're doing personal care, is such a tricky topic to talk about. Personal care is something that's quite tricky, especially if you're showering someone of a different gender. So how do you do that politely? How do you not make it awkward? How do you do it with dignity? If you're a support worker, support coordinator, community nurse, definitely would love to have you on as well. Guys, the other one that we're doing is consent. And consent on both sides, so implied consent, informed consent. We're also doing privacy, because sometimes support workers, particularly younger ones, guys, I believe that there's no such thing as a bad support worker. There are people who are unsuited to the industry, or that they're people that it's a for now job. They might be studying nursing, they might be studying psychology, they might be studying social work, or they may not have understood the assignment, basically. It's such an area of need that, unfortunately, I'm speaking purely from a client's perspective here. All you need is your first aid certificate, CPR, working with children check, working with vulnerable adults check, and the police background check, and you're good to go. But if you don't have like your manual handling and stuff like that, you're putting the client just as much risk as you, especially with agencies that aren't as ethical as My Housing and Community Access as well. So guys, my producer's in the room with me. I've got given 20 more minutes as well. And guys, I've managed to stay clear of COVID in the house, but the person who has it is medically complex, but she's managed to stay reasonably well. But can I say the infection control is huge as well. The person who came over and visit, it's been too quiet in the house. She's served her exclusion from the day centre. She's back at the day centre and loving it. They're working on her social skills and reattaching her to reality, because sometimes behaviours of concern are because people aren't getting that positive attention. So I know Daria, support worker, had said about how do you de-escalate behaviours of concern. And I know you're listening, so thank you for your support. I know you're in the car, but I remember her saying about redirecting and not taking it personally. That is the most critical piece of advice I have ever heard, is redirect and don't take it personally. So he was saying that someone has Coles and Woolies brochures. My person is the same, looking at that and planning a meal. Can you remember doing home ec in year 10 and planning that meal and the excitement and cooking and achieving something? Are they achieving something? Or are they getting jealous because they're seeing other people achieving amazing works of art, achieving their milestones in occupational therapy, speech therapy, going out with family and friends, healing relationships, and they're stuck at home? How would you feel? Just think about how we all felt through COVID lockdowns. that was the world that this person is living in. We're also going to talk about restrictive practices because I'm seeing a lot of uninformed advocates talking about restrictive practices as well. They don't seem to understand that restrictive practices, when used well, are used for very short times for specific situations to keep support staff safe. Chemical restraints, obviously I'm going to talk to the clinical and community pharmacists about them and when they are used safely as well, because I, for personal reasons, for very heavy flow, am on birth control. I actually had to go to the commission and get a letter, a form to fill out for my doctor saying that it was my choice, I wasn't coerced into it, because it's altering something about my body as well. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up. New contents that's coming is decision making with the disability, life documents to have, support workers. I don't want you guys to get offended by this one, but I'm going to do boundaries because let's face it, you guys aren't the maid of all work. Disability and accountability. So when you need to hold yourself accountable, when you need to hold your children accountable, having that discussion about what is a disability, what is an excuse, and also we're going to do what is a disability versus a health condition, because there has to be a line drawn in the sand somewhere as well. And when does a health condition become a disability as well? Guys, best way that you can protect yourself in the NDIS is getting out into the local community as well. So thanks, Julie. I'll see you, and I'll be lurking on your live on Saturday. So thank you. I've got to go fairly soon as well. Desperate for an afternoon cup of coffee. So guys, that's the content that's coming up as well. Welcome to the new followers. So just a couple of rules around is it respect each other's point of view. It's okay to have a different point of view, but we do believe that biology is real around here, and that hands off the children, and that disability is not an excuse, and that understanding disability isn't as hard. It's not rocket science. The other thing is that can we stop judging parents for choosing residential care or inpatient care for their medically complex or mentally ill or disabled children? They're making the right decision for them. We don't know what's going on. So guys, going to go and grab that afternoon cup of coffee. Thank you so much. And guys, I'll see you guys next week. Probably be doing the lives Friday instead of Sunday. Just experimenting with times as well. So that's why the upload schedule is a bit hinky as well. So guys, see ya.